Hey guys. Hello, hello, hello. Hey Coopy, I'm trying to wait for everybody else to come on in. Hey, did I see Nosy Rosie? Rosie, what are you still going doing up? Get your butt to bed. Hey Sierra. AJ. Was that you that sent Dallas a gift? AJ. That was you. She said thank you. Was that you? Hey Sharon. Sharon, why did you unhide that guy, that person? Why'd you unhide that person? Thank you, AJ. She appreciates it. All right, I'm gonna wait a few more minutes until everybody get in here. Then I'll go back to reading it, okay? Let's just wait a few more minutes till everybody get in here. And we will begin. We just hold on a second, guys. I'm glad you subscribed too. I don't know how to turn this thing off. Here we go. What's my opinion on the case? Um, as far as what? What do you mean? As far as how it's going? Hey, Mika. I am just a few more minutes. I'm gonna start. Let's start. Yeah. How is it going? I think it's. You know what I think? Here's what I think. I think they were not totally prepared as far as the evidence and things like that. I think still trying to get more evidence. That's what I see. That's why I believe the prolonging of the jury selection and all that. Because don't can't tell me you can't get jury out of what 1,200, almost 1,800 people. Come on, that's like weird. That's just my opinion on that. I think it's a overkill on the ability of getting that many jurors. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. I don't know why this thing has no connection. What's wrong with my my stupid why does it say no connection? Oh, says my stuff hasn't been backed up in a couple of days. All right, let's go. Well, that makes sense as to why one juror has been picked, and that one juror has been picked, and the state is stalling, trying to build a strong case instead of already having a strong case. Yeah. We got about 3 more minutes and we're going to start reading, okay? AJ, you should join our membership, because the membership I show other additional stuff that I don't show to the front side. So consider joining the membership, okay? Because there's some stuff that I show to the members that I don't show to the outside. Okay, we have about 2 more minutes, and then we can begin. Okay, guys, so it is 11 o'clock and we're going to go ahead and get started to just wanted to make sure everybody was okay. Y'all ready? And we were on page, let me see what page I was on. I was on page 12. Page 12, page 12, page 12. Just 1 second, I'm scrolling down, y'all. Just 1 second, folks. We just gotta get. All right, here, hold on, y'all. I'm on page 7 now. I gotta keep scrolling up. I'm gonna try to change the voices so you can know it's a different person talking. I'm gonna try to do that. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay, now we're here. All right. Here is We were up to where the judge asked Miss Love to begin, right? And it says here, this is a judge still speaking. I have also made, I have, I also have to make a determination. Okay, we did that part where he says he had to make a determination if he's telling the truth and all that. And then he says the lawyer gets to speak, and then he says, Miss Love, are you ready? And she says, yes, Your Honor. Okay, he says, Miss Love, are you ready? Yeah, madam. She says, yes, Your Honor, and let's go. And then the judge says, if you would go ahead and please cover the plea colloquy, and then the actual basis as to what you would believe had this case gone to trial, the facts therein beyond a reasonable doubt. Miss Love, yes, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Kitchen, would you please state your true, correct, and legal name for the record? Sergio Giovanni Kitchen. Are you at this time taken or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication? No, ma'am. Is there any medication that you normally take that would have been given today? No, ma'am. How old are you? I'm 29. How far have you gone in school? I graduated and went to college. Are you able to read, write, and understand English language? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that you have what you are charged with the following offense? Yes, I understand. Let her finish first. That's what the judge says. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so he's ready to go ahead on and put it in there. Oh, okay, guys, we gotta hit the like button. This is how the information gets disseminated, okay? Guys, can we please hit the like button? AJ, I know you hit the like button already, haven't you? All right, let's go. Miss Love, are you are charged with conspiracy to violate Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that you have the right to plead guilty or not guilty to this charge? And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you will receive a jury trial? Yes, ma'am. Do you have enough time to speak with your attorney, Mr. Sato and Mr. Garland, about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment, including any potential defenses? Yes, ma'am, I have. Do you need more time to discuss this case with your attorneys? No, ma'am, I don't. Are you satisfied with your attorney's services? Yes, ma'am, I am. Do you waive a formal reading of the indictment? Yes, I do. Do you waive any and all defects in the indictment, including any which respects to your name? Yes, ma'am. Have you been arrested on these charges? No, ma'am. Are you currently? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. That's what he says. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought you was asking me. Yes. I have been arrested on these charges. And the state is unaware of any outstanding warrant related to these charges. Do you or your attorney know of any outstanding warrant related to these charges? No, ma'am. Has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge to which you are pleading? Yes, ma'am. And do you understand that the minimum sentence is 5 years and the maximum sentence is 20 years in prison for the charges in which you are pleading? Yes, ma'am. I understand. Do you understand that this is a negotiated plea? Yes, ma'am. I understand. Which means that the state will recommend the court a sentence of 5 years to serve one, commute to time served, balance suspended upon the successful completion of the special condition in, numbered in the plea agreement and upon no violation of the law. Mr. Shadow says, just to be clear, there has been some confusion. It is suspended today and can be terminated on completion of all the condition. That is what the agreement is. And Miss Love says, correct. Okay, I'm going to repeat that one that his lawyer says, okay? I'm going to repeat what the lawyer said. The lawyer said, this is Mr. Satter, just to be clear, because there has been some confusion, it is suspended today and can be terminated on completion of all the condition. That is what the agreement is. So y'all heard that, right? So they suspended as of the day of that day that they made these agreement, and that it terminates once he completed all the things that they say for him to complete, and they won't come back for him. Okay? It means there's no probation. I don't think there's any probation, right? We're gonna read the what's the name? Okay. And Miss Love said correct. Did Your Honor understand? That's what she's asking the judge. Did Your Honor understand? And Miss Love said, and I'll restate that if I need to. And then the attorney says, please. And Miss Love says, the question to the defendant. 5 years to serve one, right? Commuted to time serve, balance suspended, and the parties agree upon completion of the special condition that I will enumbred, the suspended sentence will terminate by consent order. Okay? So it means you have nothing left. Not like the other dum-dums. The other dum-dums had all this stuff. 15 years probation, all that craziness. Yeah. And then the judge said, hold on. I hate to be a fly on the wall, folks. It has been suspended upon condition that he completes the condition. I'll terminate it after that, but that he got to technically still be under sentence for him to complete the community service. Mr. Shadow says, but interestingly enough, it doesn't come up often. Georgia allows one to have a suspended sentence and still have a condition that must be required to be performed under Georgia law. That is why we have worked it out to a suspended sentence as opposed to example probation sentence. Indeed, I have done it in other cases involving other clients. It's suspended, but if you don't complete the condition, then you can bring someone back into court just like they were on probation because the sentence continues. Then the judge says, okay, Miss Love, Is that the state's concurrence and agreement or agreement? And then Miss Love said, no objection to that, Your Honor. Then the judge said, then that is fine. Then the attorney says, thank you. And Miss Love continues. The special conditions are as follows. If called by any party in this case, you will testify truthfully, but reserve any Fifth Amendment rights or privileges against self-incrimination. You agree to perform 500 hours community service, a substantial portion of which will require that you speak to young men and women about the hazards and immorality of gangs and gang violence and the decay that it causes in our communities. You agree that the community service location shall be determined by the office of the Fulton County District Attorney. As another special condition, you agree that you will possess no gun during the term of the 5-year sentence or any time thereafter, unless and until your right to do so is restored. And you agree that you will commit no criminal acts. Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. I agree and understand. Additionally, as part of this agreement, you make the following acknowledgement that all of the following statements are true. Y'all ready for these statements, guys? No, he can plead the fifth. He can. Yeah, did you hear it? He can plead the fifth, AJ. It says he can. Do you want me to read that part again? It says, if you are called by any party in this case, you will testify truthfully, but reserve any Fifth Amendment right as privilege against self-incrimination. So he just has to testify, but he it says it right here. So I don't know why. That's a lie if he is called. Yeah, Renee, we just read it. It's in the paperwork right here, right in front of us. It says if he's called to testify, he has to testify. And the only thing he could do, he can plead the fifth so he won't do any self-incrimination, so he won't incriminate himself. Hey, Liz. So you see that, right? Renee, you see that, right? Okay. So let's continue. Okay. And then it says, as another special condition, you agree that you will possess no gun during the terms of this 5-year sentence or any time thereafter, unless and until your right to do so is restored. And you agree that you will commit no criminal acts. Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am, I agree and understand. Additionally, as part of this agreement, you make the following acknowledgement, and that all the following statements are truthful. Please state after each statement whether or not you agree and acknowledge the statement are truthful. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Y'all ready? Let's go. I'm going to read it really slow. I became affiliated with YSL around 2016. Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchen? Yes, ma'am. YSL is a musical label and a gang. You have personal knowledge that members and association of YSL have committed crimes to furtherance of the gang. Yes, ma'am. You were present when law enforcement officers stopped the vehicle in which you were present, along with Jeffrey William, wherein hydrocortisone, method, I don't know how to say this word, methamphetamine, and a firearm was recovered. These items did not belong to you. Yes, ma'am. Do you acknowledge the following statement? I recognize, accept, and deeply regret that my talent and music indirectly furthered YSL, the gang, to the deterrent of my community, the deterrent of my community. YSL is a gang must end. YSL as a gang must end. You hear that, right? Is that your statement or acknowledgement? Yes. Do you understand that if you violate this plea agreement, the district attorney can and will use this statement during any jurisdictional proceeding? Answer: yes, I understand. Question: do you understand that any violation of this plea agreement may result in full revocation of your suspended sentence? Yes. Do you acknowledge that no promises, agreements, or condition have been entered into other than those set forth in this document that I have in front of me and will show you in a moment, and that none will be entered into unless memorialized in writing and signed by all parties? Yes. And you are entering this guilty plea pursuant to North Carolina versus Alford? Yes, ma'am. Additionally, do you make the following acknowledgement? I, Sergio Kitchen, have read and carefully reviewed this agreement. I fully understand this agreement. No promises other than those contained in this document have been made to me to furtherance of this agreement. I freely, knowingly, and voluntarily entered into this agreement without force, threat, or coercion. Yes, ma'am. And will bring this to you to ask whether this is your signature on this document. And it says a brief pause. Okay, she says, I'm bringing you a document that I labeled Exhibit K-1. Is this your signature on page 3? And I will let your attorneys look at the whole document. Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, the state tendered K-1 as evidence. The judge asked, any objection? And Mr. Sato says, no, Your Honor. The judge says K-1 is admitted for the purpose of the plea. Ms. Love says, thank you, Your Honor. And she goes on with the question. Mr. Kitchen, do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other conviction in this jurisdiction as well as any other jurisdiction, including the federal courts. Uh-oh. That's telling you right there they're going to be trying to come after them in federal, those who plead guilty. And he says, yes. Question: do you understand that if you are currently on probation or parole of any type, your probation or parole may be revoked on entering a guilty plea today? Yes. Do you understand that if you are placed on probation of any kind and that under the terms of this agreement, you cannot violate any criminal law or governmental unit or any special condition of the probation or suspension without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that you are not allowed to possess or use any firearm while under this sentence, even the suspended portion? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that if you are in fact revoked at any time to serve any time in the Department of Correction, neither the court nor your attorney nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole. The Department of Correction or the Board of Parole or the Board of Pardon or Parole, and that no one can guarantee parole no matter what anyone has told you. Yes, ma'am. Do you understand do you understand there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea? Conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial. For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive possession or transport a firearm, and your ability to obtain employment. Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport firearm or use firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand you have waived any and all defense, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the rights to a trial by jury, the rights to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, the right to testify or to remain silent and not incriminate yourself? Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you are giving up the following rights: the right by trial by jury? Yes, ma'am. The right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself? Yes, ma'am. Wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Didn't the thing originally says that he has a right to remain silent? So why is this thing saying he's given the right to remain silent and not incriminate himself? That's kind of weird, y'all. They need to rewrite this because in the beginning they said that he has a right to plead the fifth. Isn't that weird? But he said yes, ma'am, to that. He said, if I'm correct and I say any of what is he said will be used against you and y'all both missing something. Say it again, gaming. Say it again. If I'm co-defendant, if I'm co-defendant in any of what he said, it can be used against you, right? And y'all both missing something. Okay, let me finish this. The right to confront witnesses against you. Yes, ma'am. The right to assist the counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the trial of your case. Yes, ma'am. The right to the presumption of innocence. Yes, ma'am. The right to testify on your own behalf to present other evidence. Yes, ma'am. The right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence. Yes, ma'am. The right to have the charges against you proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Yes, ma'am. The right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial. Yes, ma'am. Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter into this guilty plea? No, ma'am. Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you are in fact guilty or feel that it is your best interest to do so? Uh-oh. Okay, I knew somebody was gonna bring in there. Mr. Saddle. He will be doing so under North Carolina versus Alfred. So it is in his best interest to do so. So that's what Mr. Saddle. And then then Miss Love came back and said, that is correct, Mr. Kitchen. Are you pleading guilty because you decided it is your best interest to do so? Yes, ma'am. So he's not pleading that he's guilty because it's guilty. He's pleading guilty because it's in his best interest to go ahead and plead guilty. Not because he's guilty, but because he feels it's in the best interest. So that's what that means. So that's what he's saying. Basically, I'm not guilty, but this is my best interest. I'm going ahead and take this plea. Not because I did it, but because this is the best thing for me at the time. So that's what he's saying. She says, yes, ma'am. He says, yes, ma'am. Do you understand that notwithstanding the fact that you are pleading guilty under Alfred, this is still a guilty plea and it carries with it the ramification that I listed before? Yes, ma'am. I understand. No, I would say the best interest of me, it would cost him too much time and too much effort to really fight this. So he'd rather go ahead on and take the plea because then he could go on with his life. That's what I take it as. Not because he I just to me it's like, okay, I don't want to waste my time. Look how long these other guys are being sitting waiting for the trial to begin. he would be in the same position and he probably wouldn't be able to make money and stuff like that. So he's thinking about that kind of way. I'm just thinking out the box, y'all. I know y'all thinking, okay, he's a rat, blah, 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 blah. But I think he's doing it in his best interest because it's like too much time is wasted. I got to get out here. I got to make my money. And this here, it could go anywhere. It could go up or down, you know. Let me go ahead on and do this because obviously I don't want to deal with this throughout all this time. And to him, and because he did an Alford plea, he didn't do a plea like the other ones, you know what I'm saying? And he doesn't have to do a 15-year probation neither, like the other ones. His probation, he don't even have to do 5 years. It gets suspended once he complete the 500 hours worth of community service. So once he complete the whole thing, he doesn't have to go all the way through the 5 years. So this is the best for him. That's basically what he's saying. This is the best thing for me, and I'm gonna do it. Okay. I'm just thinking out the box. I'm not thinking about the other way or anything like that. I'm just trying to explain it to you guys. And you know what? I'm gonna bring my attorney friend to explain it to you guys, a lot of it, because she does a lot of RICO and things like that. So I'm gonna bring her on board, and I'm gonna send her this Alfred plea, and she could review it before she comes on this live, and we can discuss it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Y'all ready? Timony. You know what? I'm gonna send her a text message right now, because she be traveling all the time. Let me see when she has time for me. And I got a couple of other attorneys that I am in communication with, and they can give us some breakdown as well. Those that have done RICO. All right, y'all ready? Okay, let's do. And they've done it in the federal as well as the state. Can I plead the fifth if they ask me about anything that can get him locked up? Can he? I'm sorry. I think you said I. Can he plead the fifth if anything asks? You know what, Gaming? What you guys do? Let me see. Let me see if I can text Timony and see when she can come about with me. And let me finish reading these first, and then I'll text her, and we'll know when the next time we'll go live, and we can. And you know what? How about if I contact Judge Joe Brown? Would you guys like me to do that and see if he could break this down with us? Even though he was an attorney. He's a very smart man. You think I should do that? Y'all let me know who you want me to contact, and I'll do that, okay? All right, let's finish reading this. All right. Do you understand that not withholding the facts that you are pleading guilty under Alford, this is still a guilty plea, and it carries with it the ramification that I listed before? Yeah, I know Judge Joe Brown. Yep, I do. Yes, ma'am, I understand. Mr. Kitchen. Toya, lead attorney is not a criminal lawyer. He's a divorce lawyer. He's a divorce lawyer. I want somebody who's experienced in that. I want someone who's experienced in criminal law and RICO law. AJ, you don't know my channel? I have had several different attorneys here. Who is my regular people here? Could y'all please tell AJ how many attorneys I've had on my channel? I've had all kinds of attorneys. A lot of attorney. I've had, Gloria Rodriguez. She's the one who was handling the case with Tim Norman. She's been on my channel. I've had several attorneys here. That's several. Not one, not two, several. Hey, Hacking TV. All right, let me finish reading. It says, okay. He says, yes, ma'am. And then she asks, Mr. Kitchen, do you plead to count one, conspiracy to violate the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act in Indictment 22 SC 183572? He said, I plead guilty under North Carolina versus Alford. Oh, he's invoking that right now. So he really didn't say anything, guys. He said, I plead under North Carolina versus Alford. Y'all didn't hear that part before. And then she says, thank you. Then Miss Love said, Your Honor, if this case were to go to trial, the state, I'm sorry, before I read the factual basis for this plea, I want to make sure of one other thing. Miss Love says, is this guilty plea, Mr. Kitchen, freely and voluntarily given with the full knowledge of the charges against you? He says, yes, ma'am. And then she asks, do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction? Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that you have only 4 years from today for a felony charge and 12 months from today for a misdemeanor charge to file what is known as a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this plea? He says, yes, ma'am, I understand. Miss Love says, Your Honor, as I stated previously, the terms of this agreement are that the state recommends that the court that the defendant on count one of the indictment of sentence as follow: 5 years to serve 1, commuted to time served. I mean, 5 years is changed into 1, and then he already served it, and the balance is suspended. And then upon completion of the special condition, which I enumerated during the colloquy, the suspended sentence will terminate by consent order. Those special conditions are, if called by any party in the case, the defendant Sergio Kitchen will testify truthfully, although he reserved the right to assert his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. He agrees to perform 500 hours of community service, a substantial portion of which will require that he speak to young men and women about the hazards and the immorality of gang violence and the decay that it causes in our communities. He further agrees that the community service location shall be determined by the Office of Fulton County District Attorney. That the defendant, he further agreed, okay, I did that part, that the defendant will possess no gun during the terms of the 5-year sentence or any time thereafter unless his right to do so is restored, and that he will commit no criminal acts. Further, the defendant's acknowledgement that the statement enumerated previously are truthful, and that he became affiliated with YSL around 2016, and that YSL is a musical label and a gang. And he has personal knowledge that the members or associates of YSL have committed crimes to furtherance of gang. That he was present when the law enforcement officers stopped a vehicle where he was in he was located with Jeffrey Williams, wherein hydrocortisone, methylene, well, you don't know that word, and a firearm were recovered, and that these items did not belong to him, and that he recognizes, accepts, and deeply regrets that his talent and music have indirectly furthered YSL, the gang, and the determinant of the community, and he acknowledges YSL as a gang and he acknowledges YSL as a gang must end. And if he violates this plea agreement, the district attorney can and will use the statement during any jurisdiction proceedings. And that any violation of this plea agreement may result to full revocation of his suspended sentence. That no promises, agreements, or condition have been entered into that other than that set forth in this agreement, and that none to be entered into unless memorialized in writing and signed by all parties. The defendant entered this plea pursuant to North Carolina versus Alford. Fully understand that this still stands as a guilty plea and conviction. He acknowledged that he has read and carefully reviewed this agreement and fully understand the agreement, and no promises of other than those contained in the agreement have been made to him in furtherance of the agreement, and that he freely, knowingly, and voluntarily entered this agreement without force, threat, or coercion. Your Honor, the factual basis for this plea is as follows. If this case were to go to trial, the state expects that the evidence will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that YSL is a criminal street gang and began in the late 2012 in the Cleveland Avenue area of Atlanta, and that YSL founder being named parties on this indictment include Jeffrey Williams, Walter Murphy, and Travarius Stevens. That YSL's associate used a variety of identifying and the identifiers, including colors, clothing, tattoo, hand signs, as well as verbal and written identifiers. That YSL claim affiliation with a national gang, and that their association often wear clothing with the letters YSL, the word slime, and that they wear pennants displaying the letter YSL and the word slat. This is the weirdest indictment stuff here. The most common YSL colors being red for blood and green for slime. Lord have mercy. The state expects the evidence will further show that the defendant unlawfully conspired with other members of the enterprise, YSL, that they are named in this indictment to further the goals of the enterprise through a pattern of okay, I lost my spot. Where's my spot? A pattern of the enterprise, YSL, that are named in this indictment to. What am I? Oh, I keep going up, y'all. Sorry about that. I was going up instead of down. Okay, I'm gonna repeat what I just read. Okay, the state expect the evidence will further show that the defendant unlawfully conspired with other members of the enterprise, YSL, that are named in this indictment to further the goals of the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activities. Specifically, in this case, one named defendant, the evidence will show, frequently reached out to the defendant after committing criminal acts. The named defendant further reached out to and communicate with other defendants. This indicate asking permission to obtaining the green light to commit further crime act, fully relying on this defendant to assist him and to get out of jail upon being incarcerated for those acts. The overt act that have been committed in the furtherance of this conspiracy, and that shows that these conspiracies include the defendant's presence in the vehicle with Mr. William on September 24th, 2017. The video posted on social media's channel indicating that when accused of a crime, they will take it to trial, and indicated their dishonor in testifying as a witness at a trial, and other video posted on social media that include Mr. Martinez Arnold and Mr. Jeffrey Williams. Additionally, the defendant has appeared in photograph captures with SLAT business, which stands for Slime Love All the Time. That's what it stands for, y'all. Slime Love All the Time. YSL for life, meaning YSL for life. Your Honor, these are what we believe will be proven beyond reasonable doubt if this case is taken to trial, along with other 186 overt acts that we have shown in the indictment. We respectively ask that the court accept this plea. And another judge says, all right, Mr. Sato and Mr. Garland and Miss Nova, good afternoon. Do you wish to say anything regarding to Mr. Kitchen? Your Honor, this is Mr. Sato. Your Honor, I would only state on behalf of Mr. Kitchen that this has been a negotiated plea. We worked to get it together so we could present it to the court. We asked the court to accept the recommendation. The state proffered of facts. We understand that this what we believe the evidence would show. And for purpose, what? Did y'all hear this? This is his lawyer saying the state proffered of facts. We understand that is what they believe their evidence will show. You hear that, right? What they believe that what evidence will show. And for purpose of the plea, I think that is all that's necessary. So they're not conceding to this. They're saying what they believe that they will show. It doesn't mean that it's factual. You get what I'm saying? And then the judge said, see, that's to me, y'all, after reading this, I have a clearer understanding of what is being said. They're saying that we just don't want to go through all of this. That's what it's saying to me. Y'all say that what y'all got, whatever. We just want to get out of this mess because I don't want to stick here this long. You got people getting paid $15,000, and people doing all this extra stuff in the courtroom. From the way it looks, that was a smart idea. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't think there's nothing he's saying it's a rat thing. He's just saying that he was there, and he didn't say everything. He just said what didn't belong to him, and he was there. He didn't say, oh, it belonged to Thug. He didn't say that. He said that it didn't belong to him, and yeah, that's what they should have did. Okay. All right. All right. The judge says, okay, before I go through the plea guy, Mr. Kitchen, just some further points, clarity. There is an agreement for 500 hours of community service. A substantial portion, I'm going to define at least 350 hours, that he'll have to speak to young men and women about hazardous and immorality of gang violence. That's just qualifying and put it in black and white language. As to what his obligations are, we can always do more up to 500, but at least 350. Of that will be as you all have agreed upon. Okay, somebody divide 350 out of 40 hours. Say he did an 8-hour day speaking to these young people. How many days is that? 500 divided by 40 hours. How many hours? How many days is that? Could somebody do that for me? 500 divided by 40. How many hours is that? 500 divided by 40? That's more than 9 days. It's 40 hours in a day. It's in a week. So that's 9 weeks then. That's what you're saying, right? How many weeks is that? That's 13 weeks. Okay, somebody said 12 and a half weeks. Okay. Because remember, it's 40 hours in a week. So that's 1 week. So that's 12 and a half weeks. 13, 12 and a half, 13 weeks. Oh, that's doable. That's like, if he did it for the whole, that's like 3 months, right? It's 16 weeks and 4 months. That's 3.5 months. That's 3.5 months, right? Because it's 4 weeks in a month. 4, 8, 12. Yeah, 3 weeks and a half. Yeah, that's not a lot. All right, so he should have been finished with it now, as long as these people have been on trial. So basically nothing, all this for 3 months community service. Shake my head. Yeah. So he should be finished with it, because trial started in January. That's way more than 12 weeks that has been going on. So he might be finished. He completed it all. Because then remember, once he completed the whatever thing is over with. All right, so okay. Do y'all wish to talk with him about that? And Mr. Satter said, no need to. His willingness to do community service has been cleared. And the judge says, and the only other things I would also add that the court will make as a special condition of his plea, he will be will be that he has no contact with any other defendant as mentioned in the indictment except through counsel. Mr. Saddle says, I think that is doable with this idea that's working through the record label. It may be indirect, but as long as he's still with the record label, there have to be some contact. And it just said, right, all right. So he is able to be on the record label, and they can have indirect contact, but not direct contact. Meaning that if somebody is like a manager, like a go-between person, could do the communication with both sides. They can relay messages. So okay, they can do indirect conversation without having direct conversation. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So the judge says yes, all right. And then Mr. Kitchen says, good afternoon, sir. That's what he says. Mr. Kitchen, good afternoon, sir. And he says, how are you doing, Your Honor? And the judge says, fine, sir. Sir, do you have opportunity to fully discuss the facts and the circumstances of this case with your attorney, Mr. Saddle, Mr. Garland, and Ms. Nova, and Mr. Samuel, who is not with us today, but do you have an opportunity to discuss that with your counsel? Have you explained to your, have they, I guess that's what he meant to say, because they said, I have them explain to you the various constitutional rights you have given up. Those are the same rights my prosecutors, Miss Love, just set forth on the record. Do you have any question about those rights you wish to ask me? He says, no, Your Honor. And the judge says, I'm going to hold up the indictment, multiple page document. And on page 6, is this your signature above the word defendant, along with your attorney and counsel for the state? Yes, Your Honor. Then the judge says, before signing this indictment, did you have the opportunity to fully discuss this indictment and all the paper within as it pertained to you and any involvement that may involve you under this indictment with your attorney to your satisfaction? And he says, yes, Your Honor. And the judge said, do you have any question about anything in the indictment you wish to ask me? And he says, no, Your Honor. Then the judge says, I'll note the indictment has been signed and the plea has been entered. Mr. Kitchen, one more thing. As it pertained to your plea, the court finds that your plea is based upon the plea colloquy and the statements you have made. I find that your plea is freely and voluntarily entered. I find a factual basis for the plea, and I'm going to accept your plea as tendered and negotiated. Your attorneys did, in fact, talk with you about an offer plea. You understand an offer plea is a form of a guilty plea and will be recorded as such. He says, yes, Your Honor. Then the judge says, do you have any question about entering your plea under the term of North Carolina versus Alford? The defendant says, no, Your Honor. And then the judge says, okay, all right. Then he says, Mr. Kitchen, I will, in fact, pursuant to your negotiation plea as it pertains to count 1. On the indictment as it pertains to you, conspiracy to violate the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act, sentenced to you 5 years to serve 1. I will commute that to the time you served. I believe you were arrested on May 11th, 2022. Do that sound right? Yes, Your Honor. And the balance will be, I'll commute that to time you already served. The balance of 4 years will be suspended. Special condition that you agreed that upon completion of the special condition, which I'm going to go through with you in just a second, the suspended sentence will terminate by consent order as long as you complete the term of the plea, as well as you don't get arrested or get into any other legal issues in that pendency. Do you understand that? Then he says, yes, Your Honor, I understand. The judge says, okay, all right. All the special condition of your plea are as follow in the following particular manner. If called by any party in this case, you will testify truthfully. However, you reserve the right to assert your Fifth Amendment privileges against self-incrimination. Is that your understanding? He says, yes, Your Honor. Then the judge says, do you understand that? And he says, yes. Then the judge says, if anybody else, if the state calls you or anyone on the other defendants call you, you would have to come and testify in this case. However, you do have very capable counsel. One of them will come with you more likely. They will probably sit with you and advise you. But you understand that you would have to show up. And then he says, yes, Your Honor. Then the judge says, second, you agreed to perform 500 hours of community service, at least. A substantial portion of the court has defined a substantial portion as at least 350 hours, of which you will be required to speak to young men and women about the hazards and immorality of gangs and gang violence and the decay that it causes in the community. You agree that the community service location shall be determined by the office of the Fulton County District Attorney. Is that correct? And he says, yes, Your Honor. Then the judge says, and then you agreed as well that you shall possess no guns during the term of this sentence or any time thereafter, unless your rights to do so is restored by the law. Do you understand that? He says, yes, Your Honor, I understand. Do you agree not to commit any criminal acts? Yes, I agree. And the judge says, also agree not to have any contact with any other person on this indictment except through counsel or as determined by your avocation in the music industry. Yes, Your Honor. But I would advise you to seek advice of counsel about that because there are some other issues until this case is resolved, and that they might want to advise you about. Okay? And he says, okay. Then the court says, do you agree with that? And he says, yes, I agree. Then the court says, Mr. Kitchen, do you have any question or anything about this court sentence? And he says, no, Your Honor. And the judge says, counsel, do you have any clarification on the court's entry of sentence or the defendant's entry of plea? We'll start with the state. Your Honor, would the court allow me one moment? Yes, ma'am. She has a brief pause, and then she comes back. She says, no, there is nothing further from the state. Mrs. Saddle says, no, there is nothing further. And then the judge says, unless there is anything else, Mr. Kitchen, that will be the sentence of the court. The court will wish you well and the best. And Mr. Saddle says, thank you, sir. And the judge says, we're on recess on this matter. And this concludes the proceeding, guys. And that was it. My throat itching. All right, guys, I'm done. A plea deal is when you make a deal with the with prosecutors and you plead guilty for them, to come up with some lesser thing than y'all agree to it. So that's what's a plea deal. You basically pleading guilty. Is there any question? I'm done. I'm done reading, guys. I'm about to go to bed. My throat itching. The wonderful people. But they're not trying to give them a plea deal. All right, guys, I'm going to bed. You guys have a great night. And tomorrow, members, I will be showing you guys some footage, okay? All right, guys? I'm going to bed now. You guys have a great night. Night. AJ, thank you for joining us. And don't forget to get your membership so we can continue the dialogue, okay? Good night.